for this show, I wanted to kind of talk about, I wanted to share the story of how we got connected and like what your perspective right now with creating content. I know you're not creating social media content, but you're helping people just like share their message, connect with kids. Can you
Yeah,
kind of talk to me about that? Because that's kind of how I see you, but now I'm thinking about, I'm like, you're helping people create a legacy with putting out their message and their content.
totally. The only thing that I want to talk about is I want to do so Nicole and I are working on a book together called Soul Purpose, and I'm going to use this book to try to hit the Wall Street Journal bestseller list. I'm working on, so I have this playbook that I give to all of our customers on the question is, how can an unknown author sell thousands of copies in a short period of time predictably? And as part of this playbook, I'm creating a play for how to hit the Wall Street Journal list. Well, I need to do it so that I can make the play on the playbook. So I'm going to do it with this book called Soul Purpose, which is just an awesome book. Like I just finished writing it with Nicole, and the book is literally like you have a soul purpose, and it is to discover the light of knowing God and then share that light with others. And that's the whole purpose. If you don't do it, you'll feel like your life is meaningless. And yeah, that's the premise of the book, and it's a kid's book.
That's okay. So let's talk about that because that's really like so much of what my content is about, and you know what I mean. And it's through kids'
Yeah.
books. So let's just dive right in. I know that let's do it the Timmy way.
Yes, haphazard.
Great. Okay, and then and then let's promote your book. And is there anything else that you want to promote?
I just want to focus on promoting the book. Obviously, we'll probably talk about what I do and what my history is and all that kind of stuff and what our history is. And we can go take the conversation anywhere that you want to take it. But I really like this book. I really want this book to be successful. And from a strategic perspective, if I run the strategy that I have in my head on this book, it should hit the list. And then I can tell other people, hey, here's how you hit this list.
Okay, cool. And I'll tell people to go follow along so they can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and let's
Well,
promote the
one
book.
one of the things I'm going to do for you is I'll give you a link that your listeners, the first 30 of your listeners that click the link will get the book for free. And
Okay.
so part of the play is for me to do that 200 times with 200 different podcast hosts or media venues or whatever until the book launches. And so that's part of play. That's like the bread and butter, the play, honestly.
Okay.
Um yeah, because like even just fulfilling those should cause the list to get hit.
I love it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's
So if
so
we've already
great.
started the podcast, I'm cool with that too.
No, no, but let's start it right now.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
Yeah.
No, we'll keep it in time. So you need to be done at 2:45
Yes.
or
30
yeah,
minutes.
okay. All right.
Yep.
3, 2, 1. Hey guys, welcome back to the She Can Share podcast. My name's Melissa, and I have one of my most favorite people on planet Earth on my podcast today. His name is Timmy Bauer, and he has been an incredible, an instrumental person in helping me get started in what I'm doing right now. We have kind of a crazy story of how we met. We actually met on TikTok, and he's a children's book author, helped me create my first kids book. He's one of the most generous, kind-hearted people. He has a children's book company called Dinosaur House. And I wanted to invite him on because he's got such a genuine heart for the Lord. He wants to help people find their purpose. He wants to connect parents with kids through reading and kids' books. And he does so much in order to help people share their message. So, Timmy, welcome to the show.
Man, what an intro. Thank you.
I know I haven't even scratched the surface of all of it yet, but you know, you've just been such a great friend to me in this whole journey. And I definitely want to share about what it is that you do because I think it's so important. And one of my favorite things that you do is when we were working together and we were creating this kids book, oftentimes I'd be like, well, Timmy, what about this? What about this? He's like, we're just going to do it. We're just going to do it. And he would call it the Timmy way. And I love that because you've gone leaps and bounds in this journey of entrepreneurship, and you've done it just by taking action. So can you tell me a little bit about the Timmy way?
The Timmy way is literally, I just call it that because I don't know, it's all, I feel like all the success that I can attribute to that I've had, which is not a lot, but what I've had has come
He's
from
being humble.
um just having this attitude of like, I will figure it out as I'm falling from the sky. I will figure out how to build the plane,
Yeah.
and that's just my attitude about most things. Almost every book I've ever published has been published with spelling and grammar errors in it as a negative byproduct of the quote unquote Timmy way. Now we have things in place now to
Yeah.
try to prevent that from happening. But when I first started, yeah, it was like I had a venue like, hey, could you come and speak? Hey, but before you do, can you fix the grammar errors in your book? I'd be like, I'll try. I'll fix them before I come speak.
What I love though, what I love though is how like God has just like uniquely gifted you to do what you do. And you don't let stuff like that hold you back. You laugh about it and then you make the corrections, but you keep moving forward. Whereas, I feel like people are just terrified that ever happen. And you are such an example of like, hey, do what God says, do it to the best of your ability. If mistakes happen, just keep going.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm glad that this like negative aspect of my personality has produced such positive things in my life.
It's encouraged me. So, but for those of you that don't know who you are, can you tell us like a little bit about what you do, how you got started, and what you're doing today?
Yes. Okay. So, my name is Timmy Bauer. I am a kids book author. I've been a kids book author for like 10 years at this point, which is crazy. I started because, and I tell a story a bunch on my podcast. So, like, but my little brother Tristan was 4 years old and I was 17 years old. And I always knew that I wanted to be an artist when I grew up. So I would, I thought that I would maybe work in like movies or something like that, animation. And so I knew I wanted to be an artist when I grew up, but when I had my little brother Tristan, like just spending time with him, I had just read him a book called Yertle the Turtle by Dr. Seuss, and I was like, I think I could do something like this. So I wrote for him a book called Billy the Dragon, which basically just steals the rhyme pattern of Yertle the Turtle, but with a completely different story. And if anybody's watching, it's like these are the characters from the book, which you can't really see, but like there's one of them, there's another one, and then the other one's down there. But yeah, so it's called Billy the Dragon. I wrote it for Tristan. My goal was just to scare him, gross him out, make him laugh, get reactions out of him as a way for him and I to connect. And that really worked. We like for years, because it takes me forever to do anything. I would make a little bit more of the book and be like, Tristan, I made a little bit more of Billy the Dragon, and he would get really excited. And I would read him some more. And the illustrations were really bad on the beginning. But so I finished the book, and it was 2014. So this was 7 years after I started, which is
Wow.
dumb. But I was working at Disney as a performer, and my fellow performers saw me drawing in my like art book. Um, and they were like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I told them about the book, and just so many people at Disney were like, "You need to get this thing published. You need to get this published." And that's around the time that I met a mutual friend of ours, James Carberry, who I met him through church, and I had decided that I didn't want to go the publishing route because of my imposter syndrome. I didn't think that I had what it took to get published. And so I was like, well, what I could do is I could just self-publish, and then I, for however long it takes, could just beat my head against the problem of how do you make a book good by reading it to the actual kids who I'm trying to entertain, rather than go the route of trying to appeal to a very small number of decision makers that choose from a massive amount of manuscripts a few books a year to publish. Like that just felt so out of my hands versus this other route of like the Timmy way. I could just beat my head against it in real time by making it and showing it and whatever I have to do. And
Yeah.
so when I decided that that was the route that I was going to go, because that's the first decision anybody who wants to be an author, it's like, do you want to pursue traditional publishing or do you want to pursue self-publishing? I was talking about it with some people at church and was like, well, if you're doing anything entrepreneurial, you need to go talk to James Carberry. This was around the time that he had not yet started his super successful company, Sweetfish. He was trying to get off the ground a company that ended up being a net like financial loss for him, but like a really awesome learning experience. And so we started going out to lunch. But for me, this was my first interaction with like another entrepreneurial minded person who was like, he was so encouraging to me because when I went to lunch with him, I had a like a one-off print, I think, or maybe I just had a stack of art of the book finished. And he was so excited for me. He was like, "You have a product. You just need to go get in front of the people who would buy this product." And it's like, "Well, who is that?" "Well, it's kids. And where can you find a bunch of kids? At schools. So you need to go get yourself to knock on school doors until someone lets you in so that you can read your book to kids, so that you can keep reading your book to kids, so that you can sell directly to the audience that would buy your book." And so he was my first cheerleader, coach, mentor, friend, everything combined. And so I started knocking on elementary school doors, and about half the time I would get rejected, probably more than half the time I would get rejected. A lot of people were like, "Who is this strange man that wants to come read to our kids?" And but the few times that I did not get rejected, they would be like, "Well, how okay, our media specialist is on lunch. Why don't you go talk to her?" Media specialist is what a lot of people call the librarian at schools. And so I would go and I would meet with the media specialist. And as what I quickly found out was my illustrations, which I think were pretty bad at the time, but they were working. Um, they were good enough that if I showcased my work to these media specialists, it would give them the sense of like, "Oh, he's okay. This is somebody that and with my personality, they they were charmed enough to be like, okay, this sounds weird, but also it sounds like it could be good. Let's go ahead and let this kid read to the kids at our school." And once I started doing that, I was like, teachers would like, first of all, seeing a group of kids laugh at stuff that I wrote in my book to be funny for my little brother Tristan was
Mm,
super validating. I was like, okay, awesome. You know, first benchmark was like, can I get the book to exist in physical reality?
yeah.
Next benchmark of success was, can more kids laugh at the jokes besides just my little brother Tristan? So like, that was checked off right away, which is so cool. And then obviously the next one was like, is anyone going to buy this? So a couple of things that I learned really quickly was, teachers would pull out their phones and start recording me, which was awesome. So I needed to ask them, "Hey, can you give me those recordings?" And then I would post them and I would tag the people that had recorded me and ask those teachers if they could tag other teachers from other schools. And that's how I started getting some early virality that
So
helped me to
good.
go from school to school without having to knock on doors. I also learned a few things about email outreach. My initial emails were so bad, but every once in a while, one of them would work. And then the first way that I made money selling books was to do a school visit, and then within a few weeks of that school visit, go to their school's book fair and bring a bunch of my books. And kids would lead their parents by the hand over to me and be like, "It's the author." And then
Wow.
the parents that are there at the book fair, their agenda is, if they're going to buy something, they just want to know that their kid is going to actually read it. And
Yeah.
so if a kid is leading their parent by the hand to come and talk to me, and I'm like, "Did you like the book? Who's your favorite character? Hey, if your parent buys a copy, I'll draw a picture of your favorite character in the book." Like, every kid that brought a parent to over to me, I sold a book to. So I was
So
like, okay, awesome. Next thing I can check off the list, I am selling the book to other people. I can keep telling the story, but I feel
it
like
just
maybe that's enough of
no,
a
I
base.
love it. I love how you even said you had benchmarks, like just like your journey. I think people don't realize like that is the journey. Like you kind of feel like an imposter. You don't feel like you should do this. You almost feel like you're breaking the like, can I, do this? And then you're like, the first thing was, could I make a product? Could I actually put it out there? And then could it be successful? And then how can I scale it and grow it? And so I just love that. I think that's literally the journey.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. And
Um,
Timmy, oh, what were you gonna say?
No, I was just gonna say, no, I go. What were you gonna say? Because whatever
No,
it was is
go.
probably better. I was just gonna tell more of the story. Like, the next thing on the list obviously was, how can I make enough money on
Mm,
this book that it has paid for itself?
mm.
Because it cost me about 4.5 grand to print the first print run, and it was all the money that I had in savings. So I just dumped everything I had in my savings account at the time on a print run. And then I had a mountain of books, and it was like, can I sell all of these? If I sell all of these, I'll not just make back the money that I paid, I'll make a profit. And in the first year I was able to put the money back in the bank account, which was cool.
That's so cool. So were you working? You were still working for Disney at that time, right? So you were
Yeah.
essentially you were working a full-time job to be able to support, your life at the time. And then you started this on the side. Was your plan then? Like at what point were you like, I'm going to do this full time. I'm going to start a publishing house.
Yeah. So in 2018, my attitude has always been like I would quit my job as soon as I could. So I know I know I'm an entrepreneur because I don't like to work a job. As soon as I have the opportunity, and this has happened a few times in my life, to quit my job and just go full on into whatever it is that my own thing is, I've done that. So one of
Mm,
the first times was in 2018. I I had doing this plan for a while of, visit the school, go to the book fair, and it was great because I would make a few $100s at the book fair, and that was what got me to put all the money back in the bank account that I spent on the books. But what really started to get to a point where it was like, okay, this is a side hustle that is truly generating money like in a worthwhile way, was when I separated book fairs as a way to make money. So like I didn't pursue that route anymore,
mm,
because what every school, and anyone who works in education probably knows this, but every school in the area, every school in the US, I think, has their book. They have two book fairs a year, and they all have them around the same time. So there'd be like 2 week period of time where I could make money, and then nothing, and then another 2 week period of time where I could make money. And so obviously that's not sustainable if I wanted this to be a full-time thing. And that was one of the benchmarks of success, was, can I make this a full-time thing? So it was a full-time thing. What got it to the point where it was a really worthwhile side hustle, where it was like I could be a part-time Disney cast member, and still this
yeah.
is supplementing our income really well, was when I had the epiphany of what I now use all the time, which is hype videos. So I never do a speaking event anymore if the venue is not willing to play hype videos to the attendees leading up to the event. And so it's a video, or one video, or maybe three videos, where I'm like, what's up, everybody? My name is Author Timmy, and I'm so excited because in just a short little while, I'm going to be coming to your school. And I have just a couple of things that I want to tell you. And then I would give them a flavor of what the book's going to be about. I tell them about a prize giveaway that I'm going to do. And then I would say, in order to qualify for the prize giveaway, you got to fill out this flyer when you get home. And then I'll the teachers on the video, I would tell the teachers, you need to print out the flyer. It's in the description of this video. And so now every time I go and do a school visit, leading up to the school visit, all the kids are getting hyped up for it. And they're all going home with a flyer that they feel motivated to fill out because of a prize giveaway that I'm going to do at the school. I've done so many different prize giveaways. You really just need
Yeah.
any sort of MacGuffin that would
Yeah.
motivate a kid to take home a flyer and fill it out. So I've done so many different things. I've given away bookmarks. I've given away like surprise, like one person's going to get their book for free, but I didn't want to do that because now I'm like motivating people to not buy in the hopes that they'll get it for free.
Yeah.
So I quickly abolished that idea. But the one that I've been rocking with for the longest time, that I've discovered too late in the game, honestly, is if I'm gonna choose, like a few people. I don't say the number, but most of the time it's about 6 people. I'm going to choose a few people that are going to get to be in a video that's going to go on my YouTube channel. And the
Oh,
only way to be one of the people that could be in the video is if you fill out the flyer. And that really motivates kids to fill out the flyer. So that's what I do now. But I've done all physical giveaways that cost me money. Nothing has been as successful as this thing that doesn't cost me money, which is so cool. But
I just want to
I guess
be.
it does in the sense that I have to get these videos edited, but I need to be doing that anyway. So it was a twofer. It was like I got to be making content, and also this is like really motivating for kids. And because they're filling out a flyer, it's like a permission to be in the video is like baked into the filling out
Oh,
of the
good.
flyer. And what I need is I need the kid to take the flyer to their parents to be filled out. Because if so, the flyer is going to be like, hey, an author's coming to your school, and if you want a signed book, all you got to do is attach $15 to this flyer. And so I needed the kid to be motivated to physically take that home and present it to their parents. So when I put all that together, my sales per school jumped from like I would do about $100 to $200 per school, using the whole like school visit into book fair strategy. To I mean, sometimes I would do a school visit and I would make $2,000 in sales. This was,
Wow.
on the high end, obviously, but
Yeah.
I think my average was floating around 500 bucks in sales per school. And so when I had that epiphany, I was like, okay, it is a numbers game. I need to do as many school visits in a year as I possibly can. And once I had gotten to the point where I discovered this network of schools in South Florida that were all charter schools that all knew each other, all the principals knew each other. They were all in a principal group chat, and it was like a ton of schools. And one of the principals, the first school in this network that I visited, like talked about me in the principal group chat, and then they all started emailing me. And every one of those schools, I learned charter schools is where parents are like really engaged in their kids' education. And in South Florida, they have money. So it's this combination of like, there's a lot of people in South Florida that have money. And also at charter schools, they're really engaged in their kids' education. So one of the big strategies for me was just like going after charter schools in places like South Florida. And I went on a trip to South Florida where I booked an Airbnb. I had no idea what my sales were going to be. And I the second I had to drive 5 hours back to Orlando, and get all the books that I had left in stock because I brought way more than I thought I would sell, but I sold them all out in the first 2 days. So I had to drive 5 hours back to Orlando, get all the books that I had in my garage, and then drive all the way back 5 hours again for my next school visit the next morning because I had so many more school visits lined up and I
My
needed the books
God.
to sell. And when I got back from that trip, I quit my job. I was like, I'm going full time, baby.
Oh, I love if anyone, okay, man, anyone that's listening, like, gosh, can we just take a moment to like honor the journey? I think sometimes people are like, oh, look at Timmy. He has a kids' book publishing house and like, look what he's doing. But it's like, man, there were like 5 hour drives, 10 hour drives, figuring it out, banging your head against a wall, not sure what to do, trying, failing. Like, it's just so important that people realize that. And that is like, I think the one of the things that holds so many people back. And you're such a good example of like trusting God. I remember one time we were talking on the phone, you were saying God he's never provided for you.
Yeah, yeah.
And
And
it
sometimes it'll be the last minute. I mean, it's like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. Actually, I take it back, God. It hasn't been the last minute. He might show me that just to be like, oh, you want to know what the last minute's like? I don't think that's the heart of God, but no, it'll be like, like I'm like, God, we need $5,000 next month, and I need you to provide that money, and then like that week we'll get a client. So now I run a production company where our income comes from getting clients that want to have their books produced by us. So it'll be like the week before the new month where the money was needed, and a
Yeah.
client will just come. I'm like, yes, oh, thank you, Lord. And it's been
Yeah.
like that for a while. That now my prayer has really been. I heard God say to me that the day is coming where it's not going to be this constant, where's next month's money coming from, that is the source of my faith. Because I often have a faith that's like I have to trust fall on, like if I have to land on, like, God, well, I know you're catch me because you've done it every time. And so I just trust fall on God. And it causes me to have a very lively faith. And so for that reason, God's not super motivated to change my life circumstances because he's honored by that lively faith,
Good.
so God and I have had a lot of conversations about this, where I want it to come from somewhere else so that I can not be so insecure all the time about where the money is coming from. So yeah, one time I wrote in my promise journal, that the day is coming where it will be fulfilled promises that I look back on, and that will be the source of my lively faith. So yeah.
That's so awesome, Timmy. That's super powerful. Man, can you say anything more about that? Like lively faith and tell us more.
Well, yeah, I don't know. I don't want to hear, but I I think that there's all these problems in the Bible. Don't worry. don't worry. Not to worry is like one of the main things that like Jesus spoke to his disciples constantly. Fear not, don't worry. I think worry is a sin, which is like crazy. Worry is a sin. We're literally not like it's a sin if we're worrying. Yeah. So so in order to not worry, we must have this attitude that is like God will take care of us. Now, he does discipline us. So like sometimes things are not going to go the way we want them to, but his discipline is an act of love. It's designed to lead us to get back on the right path, whatever the right path is. So we shouldn't even be worried when we're being disciplined. But yeah, that's a constant battle that hope I don't have to fight so much soon. Like,
Yeah.
just constantly having to be like, I'm worrying. It's a sin. God, I need you to provide. But yeah, I think I have a very high risk tolerance too, just naturally as a person.
Yeah.
And I think that makes me, uh, it has led to some of my success as an entrepreneur that I'm willing to just throw myself at something. I'll be like, uh, you know well, like generally speaking, what's the like obviously terrible things can happen to us, but like the choice to like quit your job and go full time into your worst case scenario is you got to come crawling back to your job. That's not that bad. Like if
Right.
if what you do is your thing, the thing that the side hustle that's making money, if that's what you really want to be doing, and I have to assume that it honors God, whatever it is,
Yeah.
and that you feel that the Holy Spirit is behind it, that it's what you should be doing, then yeah, crawling back to your job's not such a bad thing. Like people act like it's like death to be like I don't have a job, but like most. I mean, I'm an employer. Like most people are willing to hire. I don't want to belittle people that are having a hard time finding a job. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
tough. But all that to say, if the worst case scenario is that I have to come crawling back to my job, why am I treating it like it's so bad?
And why is it keeping you from doing the thing that you really want to do that God might really be calling you into? And I love how, like, the Holy Spirit is our comforter, and it's so easy to stay comfortable, but it's like, and I want to get into this because you and your wife, Nicole, who love Nicole, you guys are such a great, you guys are perfect together. But,
Agree.
you and your wife just wrote a book about purpose. And I
Yeah,
know that that's such a heartbeat of you guys, but like, that is what you're talking about is like, would you rather be at a job that is sucking the life out of you, that you're not happy at, that you don't feel like is even in alignment with your calling? Or would you rather be on like the front line of like, I don't know if this is going to work out. It might not, it might, but it's in purpose. So tell us
yeah.
about that and then tell us about the book.
Okay, so yeah, I think that everybody says that you should follow your passion or you should follow your calling. I think that God does give us things that we're passionate about, and we do sometimes are called to different things, and we should try to be attentive and to listen to that. But if you boil purpose down to it's what is the purpose of every person's life? It is to know God and to share the knowledge of God with other people.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, then it doesn't matter how much you'll have that this world has to offer. You will not have a satisfying life if you are not uh, if you're not experiencing the love of God and sharing it with others. And so, regardless of what you are trying to
Yeah.
do,
How it
assuming that what
looks.
you're trying to do doesn't dishonor God, all of our purpose that is our purpose. So like Nicole and I had this idea that we should, I don't know where it came from, but it was like we have this kids book production company. One of the main reasons I built it was because I wanted to more books at a faster clip than I could just do all by myself. So we started Dinosaur House, and we want to be purposeful with Dinosaur House. And it just felt like, there are times where we have like a lull where we don't have a customer, and like what do we do personal projects in those lulls? So what are we going to do? And we came up with this idea of a book called Soul Purpose, where it's going to be a beautiful book. We just finished writing it together. And the concept of the book is that everyone has one sole purpose, soul, SOUL, and it is to experience the light, which the light is God, and then share that light with others. And so, embedded throughout the book are going to be references to verses that talk about the light. So, talking about how Jesus is the light, talking about how we are to be a city set on a hill. We are the light of the, like those of us that have the light, we are the light of the world. Jesus, that simultaneously the Bible calls his people the light of the world, and he also calls the light of the world. And Jesus is capital L, the light of the world.
Yeah.
But we are supposed to experience that light, and then the light lives in us, and then we have to go and shine that light in a dark world. And so it's going to talk about how, we have, we're more, our bodies are our flesh, they have the cravings of this, they have cravings for food and toys and games and all these kinds of things. But just like your stomach is for food, your soul, which is the you inside, is hungry for the light, and the light is the only thing that can satisfy it. And if all you live in darkness, you'll be a slave to the desires of your body, which is more toys, more games, more this, more that, and it's never going to satisfy you. And the kids, it's a kid's book, so it's like way less sophisticated maybe than everything I just shared, like
Which
the language of the kids.
I feel like a lot of parents would understand better with with that concept.
Yeah, well, we really make it something that a kid would
Yeah.
absolutely understand.
So
So that book is going to drop this summer. I'm putting June 1st as the drop date of that book. And I'm just, am I get on a podcast or do anything as part of this playbook that I'm building for how an unknown author can predictably sell a large number of copies in a short period of time. One of the plays is to get on these bestseller lists that people desire to get on. And what better to try to get a book on a bestseller list than this book, your soul purpose, and
yeah.
talking about how, your soul purpose is to experience the light of God and share it with others. And so as part of a strategy for helping that book hit one of these lists, every time I get on a podcast or do a speaking event or anything like that, the first 30 people that click the link that's being provided are going to get the book for free. So there'll be a link in the description of this episode. The first 30 people that go there will get the book for free.
Wow, that's so awesome. Timmy, thank you so much. That book is going to be so life-changing for families and for parents. And I love how literally given you, it started out with an idea for your brother. And now look at how it's expanded and how I know that you work with so many people. You worked with me to get a message out there for parents.
We'll
You
have
work
to
with,
do another episode and tell that story.
yeah, I know. Oh my gosh. It was literally, let me just say, Timmy literally prayed, God, who is somebody that like I should reach out to? And my video on TikTok popped up and he literally reached out to me. Do you want to be a kid's book author? Little did he know I wanted to be one. And then I answered
Yeah.
back and we got on a call and that was it.
Yeah. I sent that DM to I don't know how many people. You were the only person that the Holy Spirit was like, send it to this person. You were the only one that where I heard it so clearly, the chat DM, which is so awesome. And you're the only person that ended up saying yes.
No, I mean, I was a yes. And I just, there's like so much more. And Timmy, what you said about James, how he was such a cheerleader and champion for you when you were getting started. When we met, I was still working in childcare and you encouraged me to step out in entrepreneurship, which was something I did not think I could do. And you really paved the way for me to do that with your encouragement and helping me get my first client. So
I'm
thank
so
you.
glad. Yeah, I just
Yeah.
remember you telling me what your financial needs were monthly, and I was like,
It
I
was
was just at that
$2,000
point
a
I
month.
had, yes, I'd been, doing B2B business for a little while because this was probably a year into me starting Dinosaur House. And so I'd kind of come around to the understanding of in the business world what a small amount of money that is. I know that for a lot of people that's probably a life-changing amount of money. And it is, but in the business world, and especially in the B2B business world, that's such a small amount of money. That's like one client. I was like, Melissa, you're like one client away from getting to quit your job.
I couldn't believe it. Yeah, and then you literally pitched me to somebody and was like, would you, Melissa does social media coaching, which I didn't. She charges $2,500 a month, which I
That's a
didn't.
Timmy way.
The Timmy way. And you literally, that was how I got started entrepreneurship. That was also why I wanted Timmy to get on here. But yeah, that was how I got started. He literally sold me and I had one client and he was like, got you your client, go out on your own. And I did. So
So glad.
Timmy, I just love your heart. Guys, I'm going to put the link for this book, Your Soul Purpose, right down below. First 30 people that click it will get the link, will get the book for free. And then guys, please share it, get it, buy it, and support Timmy. Go and follow him, send him a message, tell him how awesome he is. And if you want to create a kid's book, he is the best person to do it. So connect with him.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, if you're interested in doing a kid's book, so my company is called Dinosaur House. If you go to dinosaurhouse.com, there's a little form that you can fill out that kind of puts me in the right where you're at. And so that'd be cool. I'm very passionate about the idea of kids books being this awesome vehicle for communicating an idea, because if you want if you want a kid to understand something, like your options are you could try to preach it at them enough that it'll go in, or you can package the message idiom that they will love. And if you make it entertaining and engaging enough for them, they'll ask for that over and over and over again. And now you've got that message that's important for them. This is why I only partner with people that where I believe in their message, because I'm like, that message, if done well, is going to just be repeated over and over, probably over a 2-year period of time if the book is truly loved by this kid. And so it's just this great vehicle for giving like very important truth to a kid. And I had no idea of that when I made my first book. My first book was pure entertainment for my little brother. Maybe a little bit of like take personal responsibility for your mistakes kind of a theme in there. But yeah, I learned that later.
Good, Timmy. That's so good. Yeah, kids learn lessons through storytelling, not lecturing. And that's literally what you do. So
Awesome.
thank you for being a guest here. And thank you so much. You and Nicole both are amazing. And I appreciate your friendship.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, and please go support the book for Nicole as well. I want her. I like she's so shy. She hates being like up in front of people, but we were just out with somebody that really challenged her and was like, "You have things to share." And it would be selfish of you to keep those inside even though you're like afraid to speak. And so I loved seeing that this person say that to her. So yeah, this is a co-created book, and she had so much to do with the message of this book. This is so like close to her heart. So yeah, please go. It's Sole Purpose. Please go support the book. Click the link in the description.
Awesome. Thank you, Timmy. And guys, be on the lookout next week for another episode. Have a good week.